Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important to note at the outset the successes that we did have in the last Congress in reauthorizing FISA for the protection of American national security, while instituting some truly significant reforms, which were developed through the painstaking work of this committee and in a bipartisan way, in a committee that's not always known for its spirit of kumbaya bipartisanship. We were able to find a lot of common ground in protecting civil liberties without burdening the ability of our national security officials to protect Americans. However, there is, as Chairman Jordan noted, more work to do. But I do think it's important to look at what was done in the bill that was signed into law in the last Congress. We had reforms that included new and heightened civil and criminal penalties for those who violate the terms of the FISA authorities, and it required reporting on FBI disciplinary investigations. It requires the FBI to establish minimum accountability standards for violations of the querying process. The bill significantly reduced the number of FBI personnel authorized to approve queries, required audits of U.S. person queries, and included increased transparency measures, among other important reforms. So I think there is a broader question here, though, when it comes to the pace at which we are seeing technology develop and the newfound opportunities that opens up for very problematic violations of privacy or uses of surveillance, but then at the same time, the opportunities to perhaps use that technology not only to advance national security and public safety, but to do so in a more narrowly tailored way. So advances in AI are an example of that, where there are obviously a host, an unlimited variety of potentially problematic uses by those who are entrusted with the power to investigate American citizens, but then there are also already a number of very positive proven use cases. So my thought, and I'll maybe direct this at you, Mr. Hamadanchi, is on how we can harness this technology in the right way going forward. You give an example, I think, of how there was one police agency in Florida that, or maybe this was you, but so either you can weigh in on it, but that used an algorithm to try to predict where crimes were more likely to occur. And that seems like it actually could be helpful if it allows us to allocate police resources in the right way, but maybe unhelpful if it leads to people being targeted prematurely or in a way that violates their civil liberties. So I guess I'll give either of you an opportunity to opine on that. Maybe we'll start with Mr. Hamadanchi, and then since I misremembered who actually gave this example, I'll give you the opportunity as well.
Thank you. I would say we're definitely concerned about the use of AI in surveillance. And more than 4 years ago, we had a report where agencies were saying they want to embed AI in every stage of the intelligence cycle. And the NSA stands out in this context because it has described itself as a leader in integrating AI into intelligence gathering. And there are real concerns that AI is being used to automate target selection and potentially initiating surveillance without adequate human review. And that's something the committee should look into as it considers these issues.
Thank you for the question, Representative. I think that it is incredibly important. As you rightly note, artificial intelligence is a tool. It's a pretty neutral, values neutral kind of thing. It depends on who's using it as to whether or not that can be used for good or for bad. And it's really unfortunate when we see instances like what happened in Florida, where they were using AI to develop this algorithm to identify prolific offenders and then give them, community visits. One such person ended up in the hospital with symptoms of an anxiety attack because of the presence of law enforcement coming up and showing on their door. You can imagine that is a very frightening experience for some people. So I think that it just reinforces the need. I don't want to go and take away a tool from law enforcement from being able to leverage a tool like artificial intelligence or other technologies that are out there. But I do think that it's important to make sure that if they're going to be using it, that we have proper rules and guidelines and procedures in place to minimize the potential downside here. Because when the state state does leverage these technologies and they get it wrong, the costs are really high, both for the city that ultimately bears the responsibility of the legal action that follows, and for the victims in that case. So I think that there's a really good conversation to be had about what we can do to go and better set guardrails around this so that law enforcement doesn't lose access to critical tools that can help them with their public safety functions while simultaneously protecting people's Fourth Amendment rights.
Yeah, and I'll add to that that getting this right is really important, not just for protecting civil liberties in the first instance, but also because there are so many truly beneficial applications of AI in this and other contexts, and that if we don't get these threshold questions right for protections, then it could lead to a backlash that undoes those possibilities. And with that, I yield back to the chair.
Thanks.